Brother Doctor, thank you once again for taking time from your day and schedule to be with us to follow up on the events concerning the swine flu crisis. The last time we were here was about 32 days ago.
Okay.
And much has happened, as you know, concerning the virus, concerning some of the laws that we understand are now being pushed by state governments concerning the vaccine itself. And of course, there's an uproar that's growing, not only in this country, but across the world as people are protesting what appears to be mass enforced vaccination. So we just want to come again and update the people as to where we are right now. And we wanted to begin with just the virus itself, because last time we were here, you painted a scenario that could potentially be the kind of catastrophic experience that took place in 1918. So we just wanted to start there and then move on to some of the other issues surrounding this whole swine flu crisis.
Yes. Well, I welcome the opportunity to have a conversation here and to continue with attempts to share what we've learned about a very dynamic situation. And it's one which will require frequent updates.
Right.
Because things change on a day-by-day basis as we learn more, as things happen around the world. And it shows, how small the world really is.
Right.
That things that happen in far-off places can have a big impact right here at home.
Yes, sir.
And so I welcome the opportunity once again, just to talk over as much as we can.
Yes, sir.
And then get that out to the people who are really, in a very few days, are going to be challenged to stand up for their rights as individuals. Men and women, especially those who are mothers and fathers,
yes,
are going to be required to stand up and fight to defend the rights of their children. Mm-hmm. And depending on how we respond to this situation that seems to be getting a little more serious every day,
right,
will determine whether or not we do have a catastrophe or whether it will be something that will just blow over our heads, and we'll all be better off on the other side of it.
Right, yes, sir.
So you raised a very important point. What is the status of the virus here a month later from our original talk? Well, what we have to say is now we're forced to talk about two viruses.
Okay.
Mostly what we were concerned about before was the H1N1 so-called swine flu virus. What we can say about that is it is without a doubt identical to the virus that was here in 1918 and 1919. Identical, genetically indistinguishable, which means that the only way that could be the case is that the United States Army, headed by Dr. Jeffrey Tobenberger,
right,
successfully reverse engineered the 1918 virus. We talked about that a little bit,
right,
but now it has been shown that people who are survivors from 1918, 1919, who had the virus then but who didn't succumb to it, who are still alive today, when they are tested, they have perfect immunity to the 2009 H1N1 virus, which means that this is the Spanish flu virus of 1919 that has been resurrected, and we would have to clearly assume deliberately deployed around the world.
right.
This is made even more plausible because the U.S. Navy Department has been conducting, so it seems, virus surveillance drills
Right.
around the Mexican border, down San Diego way and then over across the U.S.-Mexican border. And in fact, they were the ones who first detected the presence of H1N1 back in April.
Right.
And the equipment that is necessary to detect this virus is very sophisticated.
Okay, so
It's not readily available, but they had exactly the right stuff down there on the border in Mexico, right at the right time, in order to be able to detect a virus that presumably was a novel virus that had never existed before. Mm-hmm. So the chances of that happening are remote.
Right, because if it's never existed before, then you don't know if you have the equipment to even test it.
Right. Yes, right. Yes. And so now that virus H1N1 that began in Mexico and then rapidly spread into the United States, so the story goes, and now has spread rapidly all over the world, causing WHO to declare a level 6 pandemic. Right. Well, this now has the legal status, we could say, that allows WHO and member nations to go into overdrive, right, where response to a pandemic disease is concerned. And in some countries, like the United States, there already is legislation on the books or executive orders that allow for a declaration of martial law, of quarantines. Right. We have a recent report here from the state of Iowa, where they, in fact, have a model template quarantine order. As a matter of fact, it's in two parts. One has to do with home quarantining, and the other one has to do with facility quarantining. And maybe we can read some of that language so that people will actually see what's being talked about. Home quarantine order. And this is posted for anybody that wants to see it themselves. This is posted on the CDC's website. Right. So here's a state whose quarantine orders are on the CDC website.
Yeah, that's something.
Yeah. Here's some of the language. The department has determined that it is necessary to quarantine your movement to a specific facility to prevent further spread of this disease. The department has determined that quarantine in your home and other less restrictive alternatives are not acceptable because, and then there's a blank space to insert a reason. The department is therefore ordering you to comply with the following provisions during the entire period of quarantine. Then it lists the terms of confinement. You are ordered to remain at the quarantine facility, and then that name is written in there, from such and such a date to another date. And then it goes on. Mm-hmm. You see, so the language is already in place.
And most people may not know, quarantine, the difference between the two, quarantine and isolation. But a quarantine, from what I understand, if I'm in a building and they say someone has this infection, although they have not tested me because I'm in proximity, then that's where quarantine. So we were painting a picture the other day. If you're in a school building and one or two children are diagnosed with the swine flu, they can quarantine the whole school. Yeah.
In fact, just to back up your point, here's some more language. The Iowa Department of Public Health has determined that you have had contact with a person with novel influenza A H1N1. Novel influenza A H1N1 is a disease which is spread from person to person and is associated with fever, cough, sore throat, rhinorrhea, which is a runny nose, nasal congestion, body aches, headache, chills, and fatigue. Novel influenza A H1N1 presents a risk of serious harm to public health, and if it spreads in the community, severe public health consequences may result. The department has determined that it is necessary to quarantine your movement to a specific facility, and on and on and on. You see, so that language is right there. So if someone alleges that someone sneezed somewhere around you, you can be quarantined.